with that logic, 3 weeks before November 25th or 28th, you would see Bitcoin crash. That's just what's going to happen. Then think about the fact that after Cyber Monday, people are going to start investing again. So you're going to start seeing a little bit of money coming back, but they're going to do it again for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
So that means that you're going to see another dip, not a big dip, but another dip this week, so that they can get a little bit more money for the extra family member they forgot about, so that they can get the money, so that they can get the Christmas present before the 25th of December.
So,
Last minute shoppers.
So you're saying that they have their assets and cryptocurrency and things like this, not cash, but when they need the cash to actually buy something or to pay the credit card that's significant, they have to sell some of it.
They would have to sell cryptocurrency as the safest place to do it if they're not going to leverage their assets and borrow money to buy stuff for somebody they don't like.
Right, and get a loan. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So instead of leveraging a loan, they would sell the crypto, because the crypto does not hold interest. It is based off, your profits come from selling it. So they sell high, which it is going to be at its highest point in October. And whatever level it's going to be in November, that is its highest point in November. And then it's going to go back down. And then you're going to buy low. The lowest point is right after Thanksgiving, and the lowest point is right after Christmas, and then it's going to go back up. So it's a profit to sell your stocks while it's high, go buy Christmas gifts, and then buy in with the change that you didn't spend, and wait for it to go back up.
Yeah, I mean, see, some of these people are making 30% off of crypto, and that's crazy. I mean, so even if you have to pay taxes,
but if you put up $100,000 and you made 30% off of it, right?
Yeah,
you made $30,000. You could buy you could buy $70,000 worth of presents, and out of that $130,000, and that gives you what, $50,000 left to put back at the end of December and ride the wave until it doubles, and then your $50,000 would be $100,000.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
You're buying presents for free because you buy it at the right time.
Yeah, it's
so the crash happened, but the other issue is that there's other factors that I'm going to be talking about throughout the show that it influenced the crash. Because in the beginning, Donald Trump was, crypto president, and everything he was doing was pushing energy and pushing renewable resources to push cryptocurrency development and technology that was related to cryptocurrency development. Now, Michael said, "Who's spending $50,000 on Christmas presents?" Bro, I'm not spending $20 on Christmas presents. If I'm gonna spend something, I'm gonna spend $150 on some ammunition. That way, if it gotta go down, it's gotta go down. I'm gonna catch some bullets on sale. That's what I'm gonna do. It wasn't discount those on Black Friday. Shoot, yeah, especially the ones that I be using is like $1 and some change a round. I'm trying to get them bad boys at 85 cents a round. My bullets be expensive.
Golly.
Yeah. So if I hit a target, I really wanted to hit that target, because I ain't wasting no bullets for nothing.
Cost $1.
About some $5 for a disagreement.
Wow.
But when Donald Trump and Elon Musk parted ways earlier this year, specifically because of Donald Trump making changes to tech, like stopping the EV tax credit, because technically that was the government controlling the market. The dealership gets the money. You don't get the money, but it saves you money on buying a car that you otherwise couldn't afford anyway. And the difference between you buying a Tesla and buying a Honda Civic, a Honda Accord, a Toyota Prelude, a Camry, Lexus, something like that, was that $7,500 tax credit.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you factor in zero maintenance, outside of the $15,000 battery, trade the car in while it's still under warranty, you don't have to pay for the repairs, you're really only buying tires. And yeah, they'll charge you $2,000 for tires, but you're really only going to buy tires, probably with a Tesla, if you're not one of these little Gen Zs, probably once every 5 years. So by the time you need to get a second set of tires, you would have traded the car in. So you're really only paying the car note and the electric bill.
Right.
And if you find free charge stations, you don't have an electric bill. So that saves you like $15,000 a year on your car. And over the course of the 3 years that you're going to have the car, because you're going to have to trade it in before the warranty, you would have only saved about $45,000 at the most on your electric car. Now, likely you would have gotten a $50,000 to $100,000 car, and you would have traded it in, still owing money to it, but having a little bit of equity towards it, and then you would get another car. And as long as it's a brand new car, even with the trade-in, they still give you the $7,500 off. So that kept people who would otherwise have not bought a Tesla buying Teslas. Now that that's gone, Tesla stock dropped because, I mean, the cars were what Tesla was getting money from on the immediate, even though they got a lot of stuff in the works. So with the change in the laws that were backing certain technological advances, the stuff that he just put out executive orders for, and then the tariffs that he put down that interferes with certain tech being built, that is stuff that is also going to negatively impact the progression of the technology that does the blockchain, because the blockchain doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's supercomputers that are being built in people's like basements and backyards and other stuff like that that create these blockchains. And when the parts that are being shipped from outside of America start costing more money to build these supercomputers, it costs more money for these folks to build the blockchain, which delays because they're not turning a profit off of the lack of construction. They don't have like a surplus of money, like, oh, they're paying me a salary to do a blockchain. No, when you get the blockchain completed, you get that coin, right? And then when you put it out there, that's your coin. You know, you benefit from the financial value of that coin. But if it takes you a while to buy the parts to put up on that negatively impacts you. And then the government shutdown, that impacted cryptocurrency. And then
yeah, everybody lost money. It was shut down.
Yeah. And Dogecoin is the only cryptocurrency that survived the shutdown, because even Trump coin plummeted during the shutdown. The meme coin. What was your thoughts on that? Or do you have to take that call?
Oh no, I forgot to put my phone on do not disturb.
Put the whole family on call.
Yeah,
hey
no
mom,
kidding.
we're on live.
No, I that's crazy. I never owned Dogecoin. I never really understood anything about the Dogecoin, but I did own XRP for a little bit of time, but I just have like a little bit of Bitcoin, like a percentage of a Bitcoin, not even a tenth of a percent.
Quantum is saying that Bitcoin pullback aligns with meme pool congestion, with higher gas fees and elevated liquidations from over leveraged positions on chain IO patterns and exchange API flow that show clear sell side align. Those sell side algorithm activity. Yeah, well, that just adds to the fuel, because see me, I was coming from a more holistic fact that the rich people got to go get their kids some Christmas presents. And I was right.
That
I
makes sense
pinpointed.
too.
He said, who's going to replace those batteries that on that secondhand electric car? Whoo! First of all, I'm not trying to buy a secondhand electric car. If I'm not buying a brand new one fresh out the bubble wrap with no miles on it, I'm not trying to buy one. You think that I'm going to go to the electric batteries go between 100 to 200,000 miles total, and then after that, it doesn't hold a charge anymore. You get a Tesla with 90,000 miles on it, it's only got like 10,000 guaranteed miles left on it, 5,000 if you got heavy load. And then after that, so you got what, depending on how far you drive, like 3 charges, maybe 5, and then that's it. The car's dead. You got to spend $15,000 for a battery, which, might I add, a Nissan Versa is cheaper than a Tesla battery. The whole car, cash up front, is cheaper than a Tesla battery. So
why not just get that?
Why? Yeah. Why spend $45,000 for a used Tesla to spend $15,000 to replace the battery when you could have just bought you a $50,000 Toyota Camry or a Hyundai Genesis, or something That get you a Hellcat. Shit, aren't those like $55,000? You can get you an all-wheel drive Hellcat and be racing up and down the street like Need for Speed for a third of the price of a Tesla, and still don't got to pay $15,000. You might pay $15,000 worth of tickets, but you're not going to pay $15,000 for a damn Tesla battery.
Right.
That make no sense. The money it costs to replace a Tesla battery, you could take a old any kind of name brand that you can think of and convert it to an electric car, and still only pay 50% of the value of a Tesla. You see all of those remodeled cars that are mono electric cars now. They took gas powered cars and put like 40 Tesla batteries in a trunk, and now they're all electric.
Oh my God.
I don't know why they would do that. That's stupid, because you don't have a chain link scenario, so you still have to figure out how you're going to get your transmission to function the way it used to function when it had a steady stream of power. Because I can tell you that any Shiftronic system that doesn't have enough current going to it, the transmission is not shifting gears the way you want it to. He's at average cost is $5,000 to $20,000, right? That's why I said it's $15,000, because the cheap side is going to be $5,000 to $20,000 worth of labor, but the battery is going to be like 10,000 roughly. So 15,000 with labor on the cheap side is what you're going to look at with getting an install for a Tesla battery, especially when you're looking at those extended range batteries, the 300 mile per charge batteries. Yeah, you're looking at like 10, 15 grand. I'm not spending that kind of money on that. Then so I had a really long rollout for you guys for today, but we have XRP ain't going nowhere. I wanted to tell you about that because I know you was asking about it with the tokenization. XRP is not going nowhere. It is a valuable scenario, but XRP is not supposed to be identified by the investor as a financial stock. It is the software that expedites the trades. So the tokenization, like your boy was talking about, oh, well, you know, they're going to tokenize gold and then XRP is going to make a bunch of money. Tokenizing gold means that the XRP is going to be backed by gold, and it's not going to be able to do its job when its job is supposed to be basically on a digital platform, having the ownership paperwork of an asset being sold in seconds to another person without having to ship the product to the other person. That's basically what it is. So if you had 10 pounds of gold and you tokenize that, you got to keep that 10 pounds of gold to back that token. You can't do nothing with that 10 pounds of gold, because if somebody cashes in on that 10 pounds of gold, they got to be able to get their hands on that 10 pounds of gold. That's backed by gold, which is almost like putting it in Fort Knox and then saying, oh, hey, if you want a token that says that you could come and collect, you can. That's what tokenization is supposed to be about. You cannot have a physical asset that is nearly impossible to transport in mass quantity and tokenize it. That's going to be like, you could probably tokenize a car or maybe a picture frame or something like that, something that you can put on a shipping container and send it across. But when you start talking about $10,000 worth of, you know, the feds ain't going to let that go nowhere. To $10,000 worth of gold bars in a wooden crate with straw. I'm trying to get like an NCIS description here, and we're going to just ship that to Istanbul for tokenization. Nah, bro, the feds be at your house in a heartbeat.
Right.
So yeah, but XRP is going to be a very valuable tool, and tokenization is the future of cryptocurrency trades. So it is going to improve over time. So you said you had a bunch of tokens and they ain't been going nowhere. You can do one of two things with it. You can either hold on to them until you see it go above what you bought into it and then sell it, or just hold on to it, because eventually it's going to reach a point where its value is going to be re-evaluated because it has more use than what it is being used, because it's new and not too many people know about it. Not too many people.
I think XRP is worth quite a bit, because a lot of people I know got it for like 5 cents, and I think XRP is up to like $1 or more now.
Right. It's part of that the idea of a penny stock. So people who don't know about investing won't know anything about it, and people who invest are more often than not looking at the big dollar signs, the huge trade options. You know, when you and I was talking about that stock you've got that's worth $300 a share, and you got 1% off of it, you got $1 per share off of it, you would have never thought about a $3 stock that's giving you 5 cents a share, where you could have bought 300 shares for $300 or 100 shares for $300 and get a $5 payout for the same $300 value that you're currently getting $1 payout for, because most people don't look for the undervalued stocks, the ones that have high potential but low cost. And XRP is going to be one of those products that has high potential but low cost. And it only has high potential because it hasn't been readily used. Once it becomes mainstream, just like Facebook, just like Macintosh, just like Xbox, just like PlayStation, when it passed up Xbox, you know, it's gonna increase in value dramatically after it's mainstream. But cryptocurrency just came out in 2009, and we're not in 2029. It ain't been here 20 years. And XRP's been out, what, 5 years? Not too many people know what's going on with it yet. They don't know what it does. They just know that it exists on the stock market. So it's kind of hard to say that it's going to blow up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it is going to have a steady incline. It does not, based on my observations from the research I've done over the past few days, it is not going down. It is just not going to have a massive explosion in the next 6 months.
It's crazy how Bitcoin even did it too. Bitcoin went to 100,000.
No, that wasn't crazy. That was Trump. You had 75% of the country following a campaign that he was going to make no taxation on cryptocurrency. It is not that hard to increase the value from 50,000 to 150,000, because 70% of America is like 200 something million people. All you needed was 100 million of them to invest in Bitcoin, a few $1,000s a person, and that would have increased the value by a couple billion, and that would have increased the average value of the coin by $100,000. It went up to, what really happened was it went from 50 to 100,000 the day that he got elected, and that 100,000 encouraged another 20 something $1,000 worth of people to invest, and that's why it hit the peak that it hit. But when he parted ways with Elon Musk, because you got to remember that Donald Trump and Elon Musk was on a campaign trail together. So it is my personal opinion, and I don't ever give my opinion on the show, but it is my personal opinion that half of Donald Trump's votes was because he was standing next to Elon Musk.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's just
half of the crypto investments was because he was standing next to Elon Musk. So when Elon Musk had that beef with Donald Trump about the bill, the big beautiful bill, when Elon Musk walked out of the White House, crypto dropped. And it has been dropping since Elon Musk left. It's going to balance out and come back, but that's the reason why we had that big dip.
Well, did they become friends again?
They were never enemies, bro. Billionaires don't fight with one another. You do realize that the two richest people in the country can have a bad girls club moment and destroy the stock market, and then buy into the destroyed stock market and make a shit ton of money when everybody buy back in. See the difference between poor folk and rich folk. Poor folk hold grudges. I could say something to insult you and you'll never come back to my show again. You might even protest my show and try to get me canceled. But billionaire, if you knew a way to make money and you knew that my money would help you make money, you would call me anyway, even though you hate my guts, and we would make money together, because it's more about the dollar than it is about the feud. And if I make enough money off of what you did, what we had between us, water under the bridge, because we're rich now. We're richer than what we were. The average American doesn't have that mentality. The difference in opinion, the difference in characteristics, the difference in social status, the difference in financial and economic status will keep us divided, and we will refuse to affiliate ourselves with a person on principle alone. The wealthy will invest in their worst enemy on the financial principle of interest. It's a big difference. And there's another dynamic. I could buy your house for you so that you don't lose your house. And then the people you know that I can't get my hands on, you will connect me with them so that I can make that money back. That is how the wealthy stay wealthy. I helped you in your time of need, and now you're going to help me make more money than I spent on you. I'll give you my Bentley so that you can close this deal so that I can make enough money to buy a new Bentley. Neither one of us is walking. But see, the average American, I will slash your tires because I'm mad at you. You'll set my car on fire because I slashed your tires. I'll throw a brick through your house because you set my car on fire. We're destructive. And because we're destructive, it's crabs in the barrel. Neither one of us got nothing now. You remember back in the 80s and 90s, we had to put lock washers on our cars. We had to, because they would steal the rims. I bought new rims. You're going to steal them off my car because you can't afford to buy some. But why not let me give you my rims as payment for you fixing my car, and I go buy me some new rims. Now you got rims, I got rims, my car running, your car running. We don't act like that. So the mentality shift is the millionaire mindset. It's all about what you can benefit. The old saying, keep your enemies closer than you keep your friends. But can you think out of the fullest extent of your life, you don't have to tell me how much, but can you think of a time where you've made a profit off of your friends?
I mean, the only time I made a profit off my friend is when I sold a used car, you know what I mean, that they needed it and they paid whatever the value that I had for the car. You know, so I got more money out of the used car, you know, like say the 1,500 I would have got at the dealer, they paid me like 3,000 for the car. And I can't even remember the numbers, but I specifically, and they were happy to pay it because they needed a car.
Okay. Now, can you remember a time where somebody you disliked, whether you were working with them, working for them, but you were still making money through them?
Yeah, I mean, all the time, because then you become motivated to.
I'm gonna fix you. I'm gonna be successful while you trying to stop me. Exactly.
Yeah,
but keep
I mean,
your enemies closer than keep your friends. So why are we valuing people who don't make us money over the people who do?
Right.
That's the whole dynamic. So rich people will make money with their enemies before they chill with their friends because they go where the money's at. They don't have to be at a 9-to-5 job getting paid for their presence. Their presence is meet and greets. Their presence is social interactions, negotiations, deals. So really the only beef that two rich people have between one another is that we didn't close the deal in my favor. That's it. I didn't get what I thought I was going to get out of the deal. And as a result, I'm not going to stay here anymore. And they'll walk off. But as soon as another business opportunity comes around, what do you think's going to happen? Hey, man, I know you're mad about the other deal, but this one's going to put a lot of money in your pocket. Give me a call. That's it. That's it. Y'all friends,
yep.
Man.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. All Trump got to do is say, let me slide Elon into this TikTok deal before it closed, and that's a wrap. That's trillions of dollars of benefit. We buddies now.
Yeah, I mean,
what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say, like, if you get mad at McDonald's and you like McDonald's, you may cuss them out that week and say you're not going to go back, but then you're still going to go back because that's something that you like to do. Like business people like to make money. So
you cuss out the cashier, they give you a free sandwich, and you go to a different store. You complain about them in between them two interactions, but you don't never stop going back. You got the membership, you got the app, you using your points, you got a discount. The upper management probably mailed you something in the mail that said, I'm sorry for your last experience. Here's this extra promo code. And that's it. after they done bought you off 2, 3 free meals, you don't remember the last time you was mad at them, but you remember exactly what it was because it was the same complaint over and over and over again. They did not make your food the way you asked for it, and they charged you for something that you didn't get. That's the only two complaints that we have between that and we didn't like the attitude of the employee that we was dealing with when we was trying to get our stuff. So those three complaints, biggest complaints that any client establishment would have, but we still go back.
Right.
And it's the like you said, because it doesn't matter about whether or not I like the company. I like the product. I like the product. I like getting the product from the producer of the product. So I mean, yeah, I'm mad today, but I'm not gonna stay mad. Billionaires, they might have an argument, but they're not gonna stay mad, you know. And it's as soon as money come back into play, it's like you see. Oh, you probably didn't hear about it that one time when Elon Musk was on Twitter talking about a $5 billion deal. He was talking to everybody on his platform about that $5 billion deal to get their opinion on it because it was their money, not his money. He's a billionaire and he didn't put $1 up towards the deal. The investors did. It was his idea backed by a billionaire's opinion, but it was financially backed by all of the investors. Few 100 million people. Look at what happened with the Cybertruck. 3 million investors. Think about this now. 3 million plus investors on the reserve list. Each person put up $100. Isn't that upward of $3 billion? For that reserve list. Now he takes that $3 billion. If he can flip that 10 times more than what he had, don't he have like 30 billion or $300 billion related to that Cybertruck? Cybertruck's garbage, but he made a shit ton of money off of the pre-order list before he started charging that $80,000 truck at $99,000 and then charging an extra $25,000 for me to ship it to you this month with the Foundation Series emblem on the side of the truck, where the Foundation Series is the shittiest version of it. This is the first time in the history of anything that the sequel will be better than the original. Because the Cybertruck 2 is going to have all of the stuff that the Cybertruck 1 was supposed to have on its release. And yes. But you're paying $125,000 for what was originally advertised as $79.95.
I mean, it's got a lot of problems, but I still think it can do a lot that other trucks can't do. It just costs way too much money.
No, I think it's a piece of shit, in my opinion. It's fantastic. I wanted the truck. I'm on the list. So before I start talking shit about the product that I'm looking at, I am on the list. So don't think I don't have value in the truck. I think that what they produced is horrible in comparison to what they advertise it.
Oh, okay, for sure, yeah. I get you there.
Specifically because it's got the 30 times rolled steel, 9mm resistant. It does work. Folks have shot up their Tesla trucks to prove it. However, it does not come with the bulletproof glass, which was supposed to come standard. It is now an upgraded option. It does not have the solar cage, the Volt. It doesn't have that. That was supposed to come standard. It doesn't have the light bar on the top. That was supposed to come standard. It does not have the autopilot in it. That was supposed to come standard. Like the 100% stage 5 autopilot that they're putting into the robotaxi, that was supposed to come standard in Tesla Cybertruck. Then the worst part about it is because it is 30 times rolled steel and the design of you have to pay yourself an extra $10,000 or $15,000 to wrap it with something because you can't paint that. So you have to do a wrap on it, which is extra money out of your pocket, or the regular metal will oxidize and rust. That's an issue. There's no coating on it. There's no clear coating or nothing. If you polish it too much, then it's got the chrome reflection and the police won't let it be on the road. So now you got another issue. And then the 30-time roll steel, nobody thought about this. Nobody thought about this. So I cannot say that this is Elon's fault, but a truck is supposed to carry heavy shit, right?
Right.
The metal is malleable, it's flexible to absorb the bullet, right?
Okay.
It is also flexible under the weight of heavy shit. So you fill the bed of the truck up, what happens?
Start bending.
The frame is bending and you can't bend it back. That's when I was like, oh, fuck this. So it's a show truck now.
Right.
Because you already understand it with an electric vehicle, if you fill it to capacity, it's going to run at 25% if it's EPA recommended mileage. So if they say that it can run 300, it might can run 75 with full load. The quad that is going to give you that 300 to 500 mile range, the quad wheel, is going to cost you more than the tri wheel, unless he changes his mind and keep them at the same price. But the tri motor,
the different motors,
is going to cost more than the one that's coming out, because the dual motor is being released right now, not the tri motor. The dual motor is being released at 125,000, not the tri motor. Rear wheel drive dual motor is what's being released right now. The tri motor is going to cost another $25,000 more, which means that it's going to be about 150 grand. And if you do max weight on it, you're only going to get about 150 miles off of it. So you can't use this as a work truck, because the average person who drives for a living is going to put 100 to 250 miles on your vehicle. And the best case scenario on a fast charger, if you have access to it, would be about an hour to an hour and a half. Worst case scenario, any other situation, 8 to 12 hours. So if you've got a lot of back and forth driving, it's not like if you had a Dodge Ram 3500 diesel where you spend like 7 minutes at the gas station filling your tank up. You could do that on your lunch break, but you can't sit somewhere for an hour and 45 minutes charging up your Tesla while you have to work.
I've seen them here in Austin. They have these big Tesla charging stations, like in parking lots, where they got like 20 or 30 of them, and
next to a restaurant, next to a hotel.
Well, I think they put them next to restaurants and stuff, because people have nothing to do, so they get off and go eat and do something.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. As soon as you told me about them big stations, because I've seen them in Florida too. As soon as you talked about them stations, I'm just gonna tell you, across the street, there's a restaurant there. Nearby, there's a hotel there.
Right.
It might be next to a bowling alley or a movie theater, because you are going to have to do something to occupy your time for the hour and some change it takes for to charge that vehicle up so that you can get home. Because otherwise, you're not going to make it.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, in the cold,
the battery ain't going to last.
I don't know how they deal with it up north, but I know that it has to have, worse problems, because I remember going up north one time and my cell phone battery would die quicker.
Yeah.
But that was like 4 years ago. So
no, that doesn't change. Okay, so electricity is going to radiate heat, and that heat dissipates out of which when we put our phones in phone cases, we're kind of preserving them a little bit more. But you have to understand that you're still losing some electrons on standby.
Right.
It's not a closed system, which we're gonna have to sidestep and talk about the fact that we're riding on a lithium ion bomb when we're riding this Tesla truck, just for the sake of, I just want to be real about it. And then it has a level of radiation to it. So I'm not sure how safe it is for the average individual to be in for their psyche, but I mean, ain't nobody came out with cancer because they ride a Tesla truck. So like smoke, go ahead and ride a Tesla. But it's just a principle, the fact that that battery is underneath the car and the weather directly impacts the battery. The charge is going to be highly compromised, because if you got a foot of snow, you got a foot of snow. It is what it is. And then just like in Florida, when it flooded, all the cars blew up because of the salt water. Exactly the same thing. Wow. It will be directly impacted. It burned people's houses down. The car burned people's houses down because the water got the car wet, and the car was plugged into the house, and the car caught on fire, and the car caught the house on fire, and the car's car insurance had to cover the house to rebuild the house, because the homeowner's insurance didn't want to rebuild the house. Yeah, it was terrible. And that is an issue. Like, where do you put your car? In certain states that have floods, where do you put your car in certain states with the snow and the cold? And yeah, those batteries aren't going to last that long. Just like you said, 4 years ago, it still applies today because that big battery is a new thing. That big battery is going to have the same weather condition concerns as a cell phone battery. It's not going to last as long. He said, yo, did you see that community post I posted in my channel? Not yet. No, I haven't seen that community post. I'm going to go to your channel and go check it out after the show today. I've been back to back. That's why I got here 20 minutes late. So have you been able to look into any of the changes in cryptocurrency? Or you're here to get that information?
I've seen, I mean, I just noticed that today I saw it went up like 5 or 6%. And I do remember, like, last time we were talking about Saturday, it was like at 80 something, 80,000.
Yeah, it was about 80 to 82,000. So it's getting closer to, you know, it's I don't see it crossing over $110,000 by December, but it should get closer to 250 by June or July.
Yeah,
That'd
be crazy.
But that's a highly volatile scenario. You imagine it at $125,000 as if there's a select few quantity of people with $250,000 worth of Bitcoin, and that's not actually the case. The thing is that just like when you think about $1 billion lottery, if 1 million people won that lottery, everybody got a couple $100,000. It's not a lot of money when you divide it between a number of people that's invested into it. So when you think about the $250,000 worth of coin for one coin, $250,000 for one person, that's a lot. But when you $250,000 per coin and you do microtransaction and you divide that across a few million people, it's really only like $25,000 a person. And if it doubles in value, that person's $25,000 turns to $50,000. But it's not a lot of money. You know, well, hold on. It's a lot of money for you and I, but it's not a lot of money in comparison to the people that are investing in crypto and taking that volatile risk. You know, the average person isn't dumping $250,000 on Bitcoin. That's what I'm saying. The average investor of Bitcoin is not dumping $250,000 on Bitcoin. You know, but we have some new IRS regulations that are targeting crypto brokers, and there's a champion bill that is supposed to streamline stable coin regulations coming soon. And then there's supposed to be an announcement for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And Donald Trump had made that announcement in 2025. This is what was leading to the surge and the overvaluation of Bitcoin. But he announced that a sovereign wealth fund.
State of Texas just bought some Bitcoin too for their own fund.
Well, yeah. So the people who are buying Bitcoin, they're buying Bitcoin and buying gold to offset and diversify themselves away from the United States government's control. Texas and California are close enough to become their own country. They just don't have the military power. However, they have the budget, because like, what was it, $250 billion was operated out of California. That's a lot of money, close to what the United States is doing when they do individual budgets, not like the whole bill. But when Texas and California disagrees with what Trump does or what Trump wants to do, or any president in the White House wants to do, that state may not receive supportive funds from the government until they receive compliance. Now, if that state has its own budget with its own investment portfolio where it generates its own revenue, it does not have to ask Washington for anything. It can report to Washington, but it doesn't have to ask Washington for anything. So that's equivalent to mama saying you can't have that, and you say, who's going to stop me, because I got my own money. I'm going to get that with my own money. You know what I mean? So when we was kids, you got that McDonald's money, and we respond with, I got McDonald's, Wendy's, Domino's. I'm about to go get me a PSP. What you talking about? Buy my own school clothes. I got it. I pay for your car insurance and put gas in your car, so you're my chauffeur. Drive me. So in Texas, when they get their own stock portfolio, they get their own self-funded scenario set up. They're capable of not having to be so dependent on whatever the government has to release, which also protects them from government shutdowns. So a lot of states that have that capability will, if they haven't already started, will begin to start finding ways to self-fund that doesn't require them to apply more fees to the people. But when Donald Trump was talking about that sovereign wealth fund, piggybacking off of what I was talking about on Saturday, they're going to be using the cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin, that they have seized. And seized is the politically correct term. I'm going to come from the streets. They stole it from folks who originally owned it, and they're going to use it to make money. And that's what the boy was talking about when he was like, oh, they're gonna use all of this hidden money and, you know, tokenize it and put it into XRP. They're not messing with XRP. They're not messing with none of the other cryptocurrencies. In fact, all of the seized or stolen cryptocurrencies that is not Bitcoin is in a program to be auctioned off to the highest bidder. But Bitcoin, they're going to hold on to that, and they're going to use that to fund the sovereign wealth fund and provide funding to the U.S. government, where they don't have to necessarily depend as much on taxation from the U.S. people. Eventually, it's not like an overnight thing. It's just like a 20, 30, 40-year process kind of thing. Yeah, so that's some of the reasons. Yeah, you and I are going to be in our 70s by the time.
Yeah, by the time
before we don't have to pay taxes no more. Technically, we don't, but you know, if you file, you got to tell the truth. But it is more of a voluntary. And truth be told, people swear up and down that it is mandatory for you to pay taxes, but that's not actually the case. The fact is that the system has your money being taken out of your check by your employer, so that your money can tell the so that your employer can tell the IRS that this is how much money that should be taken out of your pocket. Then you file an IRS document that contests that and say, no, I'm too poor to pay for that. Give me my money back.
Right. Now, the
Robinhood
thing, is it like the credits? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, well, there's a difference between tax credits and tax deductions. Tax deductions is when you spent money that the government will not tax you on, and then that comes off of the amount of money that you owed from earned income. But tax credits is a cash value that can be issued to you as a return,
like
even
child or
zero.
EV tax credit. Yeah.
Right. So a deduction can go from owing something to zero, and a credit can go from zero to a refund. That's the difference between those two. But when they take the money out of your W-2, the taxable income, that taxation that they take out of your check and give to the U.S. government forces you to file a paper to the U.S. government and say, give me that money back.
Right, because if not, they're not just going to give it to you.
I mean, I
heard all this stuff about some kind of tax stimulus check this fall, but I never saw it.
No, there isn't one. I did research on that too. There isn't one. There are a lot of they had stopped doing stimulus checks this term with Donald Trump. The only stimulus checks that would have been issued would be ones that did not get issued when they were supposed to. And the last group of stimulus checks that were supposed to be released were women with children. There are none, well, technically parents, but only 18% of men get their kids. So women with children is going to get that money. The average American was supposed to get COVID And if they didn't get it during COVID, they got it last year when we filed, or
Right.
potentially this year when you filed.
I
And
can't even remember
so
what those
2025,
stimulus checks were during COVID, but
like
I know they.
between 1,800 and 2,500 a person. There were
Yeah.
two or three checks that were issued during that time, and if you didn't get one of them this tax season, you would have gotten it. And if you haven't gotten it between January and April, but you did file your taxes, they may release the money in October or December. That's what they were talking about.
Mm.
Back owing you of what they promised you, stimulus checks. That's all they're talking about. There are no new stimulus checks. If you ain't making enough money, you ain't making enough money.
Right.
But where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So as it pertains to the taxation, research shows that if your employer takes money out of your check and sends it to the US government, if you don't file a paper and ask for it back, they're not going to argue with you about it. They're just going to keep your money. If you owe them money, they're going to apply it to what they think that you owe. And what they think you owe is based off of every financial institution that reports to them that you gained money from them. Now, audits come up when you're making too much money and the government's not getting any money out of you, like MC Hammer when he was making like $53 million in like 4 years' time.
Wesley Snipes, he went to prison for a long time.
Who's that?
Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes and
Blade.
Nicki Minaj. Yeah, Blade.
I don't even know him as Wesley Snipes. I only know him as Blade.
I know, right? He long time, but he didn't have any money after that. At least when MC Hammer, when they came to get the money, MC Hammer gave him what they asked for. He had to liquidate some assets, but he's still worth like $5 or $7 million right now. MC Hammer's not broke. He's rich broke because he went from 53 million down to 5, but 5 million compared to 30,000, he's not broke. He's nowhere near the poverty line. His $5 million can make enough money where he don't have to invest in nothing else. He can just live off the interest, right? But he's still invested in other things. He's still investing in his community. You know, he's still spending money, but he's spending less money than he makes now, instead of spending more money than he made back in the 90s. But yeah, since it is reasonably a voluntary scenario, the fraud comes in at. That's what triggers the really the audits, when your money don't add up. So when you're rounding everything to whole numbers, that's impossible to happen. There's got to be balance that's involved. When you are overstating the quantity of money that you spent versus the quantity of money that you made, so that you don't have to pay taxes, if the numbers don't add up, they're going to have red flags on that. If you are claiming a bunch of outrageous stuff and it looks like there's too much stuff going on with your money, but there's not enough money coming in, they'll audit you for that. Basically, if it doesn't make sense when you look at the writing on the paper, they'll audit you for that. But if the money looks right, they're less likely to audit you for it. But they randomly, from what I've heard, they audit the people who are last in line before they audit the people who are first in line. And so late filers are more likely to get audited than early filers. And yeah, that's about it. So it is reasonably a voluntary system, but the people who get in trouble for it usually have more stuff than is being reported, and they're actually reporting taxes. So people like Nicki Minaj had tax evasion,
right,
where taxes was being done, but what was claimed was not what was earned. All of those rappers that was on Cribs, Pit My Ride, and stuff like that, they were essentially showing the type of paperwork that they did not have anything, or they could not afford anything. And then you see them on TV with houses bigger than the White House, 30 cars in the front yard that cost more than the average person's annual salary. And a whole house that is a game room with a whole another house attached to it that is a movie room with a second story, stuff like that. And I'm like, wait, hold on. How do you have all of that stuff, but you said that you was broke? That's when they get audited.
Yep. They
And
make
then any
themselves
back
easy.
taxes that happens. Yeah. And now the other people who get audited are going to be the people who are claiming children, and then somebody else claims that child. When you're claiming a dependent and that dependent claims themselves as head of household, because that's an inconsistency between your document and their document. When you have joint filing between you and your husband or wife, and then they file, if y'all's paperwork don't match up, they're going to audit you for that. And then when you're claiming like family members, like the elderly, and then their benefits are going in your direction, and something happens where they find out that that person's been dead for a while, then they audit you because where the hell was the money going? But
people
these
that
are
are
scenarios
100
the money
years
don't add
old.
up. But if you're making
100
a consistent quantity of money over an extended period of time, and your numbers look the same every year that you filed it, the odds of them auditing you is probably 25-30%. If you
Right.
file on time. If you file between January and February, likelihood of getting audited is almost nothing.
Yeah,
So
I only have one pay stub every year, so it makes it real easy.
I don't get I get bank statements because everybody directs deposits. So because of fintech, so wire transfers, and then wire transfer, and then deposit into the account. So I got one source where the income comes from, and then all I got is bank statements to prove that the money came in, and then charges on credit cards as to where the money went.
Ugh.
So you have the money coming in one direction and going out in another direction, which shows that it wasn't redeposited into the same account because it was direct deposited in, paid onto a credit card, and never seen again. So it's an easy paper trail, but the fact is that you can see that, damn, he's spending a lot of money. He's too broke for this. He's too broke for this taxation thing. But that's kind of where it is with taxes. And then as it stands with us in America, if we go to another country and start turning profits in another country, if we're still filing taxes in the United States, if we don't claim the money that we're making from the other country, that is tax evasion. So if you've got stocks and bonds and you leave that off your tax return, that is where the tax evasion comes from, because the stocks and bonds and assets will report that you're turning a profit from stocks and bonds that you have, and that is inconsistent with your document, and that's where you get audited. So if your money look right, you're not going to get audited if you're reporting it. But if you're not reporting it and somebody's throwing up taxation on you, there are people who go 10, 15 years that don't ever file for taxes. And Donald Trump's never filed for taxes.
Oh gosh.
All of his businesses file taxes for him,
Right.
and he benefits from the assets that the business has. So, it is, I'm not discouraging people from filing taxes. By all means, go to your H&R Block, save you some money and go to TurboTax and do it yourself.
Right.
But the fact is that you just got to make sure that your numbers look right and make sure that you have dollars and cents, and inconsistent dollars and cents. Nothing, you shouldn't have 8 different lines that say 84 cents. You need to have some exact numbers in there somewhere, and really come up with some realistic stuff. And as long as your numbers look right, you shouldn't have any issues with the IRS.
All right, Xander. Well, I got to get going here for me.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right, man. I really appreciate you sliding by. I'm gonna continue on with this, and whenever you have some time, you can always dive back in and take a look at some of the stuff that you end up missing. Because if there's anything in here that you would like to benefit from, you could always
go back
play
to
it
the previous
on
versions.
Hell yeah, because I only shave off maybe the first 15 minutes of the show. When I edit it out, take out the opening intro and the first 15 minutes of gap.
It's a good
all of the detail is in there.
It's like a good resource if you want to learn about a topic. You've got a lot of videos.
I deleted the first 2 years, so even though I still have a lot of videos, I have been live every day since 23. So there's a lot of videos up there. So if you were to go to some of the older videos this time last year, you might actually see when I co-hosted with Mr. Pibbs, and we were covering some of the topics that we're covering now, but we're covering way worse quality.
Right now, this is pretty
unorganized.
good.
But no, I'm talking about the video quality was way worse.
Oh, okay.
It was there was way less organized, but the topics were still very on point and concise, and we still did our research, and a lot of the stuff that we talked about back then still applies right now. And now I'm actually doing follow-ups on a lot of the topics that I covered before, because I mean 366 topics a year. You're going to talk about something twice. I just come from a different angle than the last time I covered it.
Right.
Trying to be like Lil Wayne. I ain't trying to say the exact same thing more than once, but it'll happen. So if you go back, if there's anything that you're thinking about, and you go into the channel and you type it in, and if you don't see a video pop up about it, let me know, because it's probably something that I should cover. Because this should be a vault. I should be like the Wikipedia of YouTube, where anything that you want to know, you can watch a video about it.
Yeah, it's becoming that for sure. So
make sure that you share it with the people that you know, and hey man, this guy knows a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. So if you got a question, everything from business and finance to personal development, relationship topics, it's like
I'm gonna put your QR code in my taxi cab, maybe.
Oh, you could.
Yeah,
you could, because if they know, and then because you have a taxi company, or you work for a taxi company.
No, I'm an independent chauffeur.
So you got like so you doing a limo service?
No, I just do Uber Black.
That's the limo service Uber level. Are you signed up with Lyft too?
Yeah, Uber Black, Lyft Black.
Okay. Do you have a concealed carry?
Well, Texas is it doesn't matter.
Oh, you're in Texas. Okay, so the reason why I'm asking is because since you're in rideshare and you have like Black, so you've got like an SUV style thing. There's another rideshare company called Wolf. It is stationed out in Georgia, but I do believe that they're expanding, and you should look into that, because it is like private security rideshare driving scenarios. So if you have the capabilities to do that as well, they pay more than Uber and Lyft. That's the reason why I was asking those questions.
Shoot, I probably couldn't do security because I'm disabled.
No, you're armored driver.
Yeah, but I wouldn't pass any like physical requirements probably.
You can shoot inside of 40 yards, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean,
all right. And you're an armed driver. That's what that is. It's an armed driver. You're not getting out of the car and taking them nowhere. You are a driver with a gun.
Well,
they request.
Well, I like that. I mean, I like the idea. Obviously, if I can make more money, because that's why I do Uber Black. But
just take a look at it and see if they'll.
I want to transition to online, so you can get out of this country.
You want to transition to what online?
I'm still not sure yet. I guess that's a discussion for another podcast. I got to brainstorm
online teaching, because that's easy to do.
Right.
Since I have a vast quantity of knowledge, and it doesn't take much to get an online certification to be a teacher.
Yeah, I got to find what skills line up to what would pay me, what would be valued. So
I have covered several shows. So now you have a mission to go through my channel and get every video about online side hustles, online gigs, online employment, because I've covered this over the last 3 years. I have at least 5 or 7 videos of different ways and different things that you can do off of your computer to turn yourself into a digital nomad.
Right.
Then the other thing that you need to think about is, since you do want to do like the digital thing and kind of stray away from, look into what Uber is doing with the Tesla RoboCab, because if you can invest in that RoboCab under your Uber account, all you got to do is power the car, charge the cars up, and then let the cars do Uber for you, and you just stay at the house.
Right.
So those are just some ideas to kind of help you retire out of working in person and start getting paid
Yeah.
passively or residually off of other information. But yeah, I've covered quite a few different things. I'm not a big fan of drop shipping. It's hard to start up, and you have to get licensed to licensed by the product's original distributor in order to sell their product. There are certain places where you can get random stuff to sell, but it doesn't sell as well as the name brand stuff.
The
The name
known
brand stuff
brand. Yeah.
requires you to get stuff. So that's harder to get into with drop shipping. But and then Uplift is a little difficult to get into too, because it is based on reputation, and you have to build that reputation. So does Fiverr, but there's a lot of stuff on Fiverr and Uplift that you can do, but there are a lot of things. Photography, there is video editing, script writing. I've covered a lot of stuff. Personal assistant, um, organizer. There's a lot of stuff. Airbnbs are okay, but it's a lot of work. You got to clean the house, or you got to pay somebody to do it for you. So you got to look at the quantity of effort you want to put into that type of job versus the skill set that you have to do that, and how much of it you can automate. I've covered a lot of it. You should be able to find what you're looking for, and if not, you kind of throw it in the comment section one day. Let me know what you were
We
thinking
will.
about, and I will see what's out there.
I think, is it Saturday or Sunday that you talk about multiple topics?
Random questions and comments from the fans are on Sunday.
Okay, yeah. I got to make more time to come back on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's the time when I didn't stay the most, I think, or I skipped a day.
Well, yeah, because we're listening to a lot of people talk about how much their lives suck, and they're really the problem with their own lives, and they don't put in the effort to make changes, and they don't want to compromise. They just expect the world to change around them without knowing that the world needs to change, and they're not satisfied with the lack of change, and it just doesn't make any sense. So these wild conversations that I get from people in the comment section, I just put them up on the show and be like, listen to how people think. And then I just tell them, like, truthfully, this is my advice to you. Like, this is how you fix your problem. And my advice is usually put yourself in the other person's shoes. Think about how you would want to be treated in this situation and act accordingly. Because that's the best way you're going to get results. But, some of the stuff that people say, it's like, damn, I didn't think that it was like that. And it's not just in America, because some of these comments are coming from all over the world. But
yeah, no, the internet.
You hang out longer. We can chit chat about finding you some other ways so that you don't got to do that drive no more. My homeboy was doing it for a minute, and then he got fired twice.
I mean, it's real profitable here in Austin. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I could work more hours, I would. But I already, I push 5 or 6 hours a day, and it's enough on my body. But
that's too much work for you, man. You need to be able to sit at the house and do stuff on a computer for 5 or 6 hours a day and make the same amount of money or more, and not have to leave the house.
Yep.
I mean, I've made more money in this conversation with you than what you did driving around for Uber today.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten out of this chair since 2:30 this afternoon.
Yeah.
Everything I do is on this computer. So let me know. I know you got to go to bed and get to work. Let me know, and we'll brainstorm on some stuff and figure out what we can get you lined up with, because there's a lot of startups where you can very little money and time and effort, and then you can build on something that will take over your ability to do Uber, where you can keep doing Uber till you build a revenue that surpasses Uber, and then you can quit Uber because you're already getting paid to do the stuff at your house. You can start off by using it as a subsidy, and then as it builds, then you can transition over. Typically when it's about 70 or 80% of what you're already making from your primary source of income, once it reaches that level, you can quit, take that 10 to 15% dip, and then focus on it, scale up, and surpass what you was making doing the other thing. And now you don't have to have that pain and suffering from riding around bumps and valleys and disrespectful folks. So, because I hate people, I really
do. Yeah, I feel you.
I'm very sociable, but
you have to have a high tolerance for people that are like that. But I mean, at the end of the day,
restaurants for 20 years, but I still hate people.
Yeah, but
it's so disrespectful.
It's it's such an easy way to make a living every week
Mhm.
that's consistent. So smaller
One of the
cities, it's
best
not
things
as
about that job, though, is that if you don't get fired from the company, you
mm,
can always pick that job back up anywhere in the world. So you can pause on it and just stop driving and
right,
keep making money doing something else. And then if you decide to go on vacation somewhere that the app does work, you can just activate the app in that new city and start driving around in that new city. And you don't have to worry about it because you follow the
right.
GPS. So that's an extra almost digital nomad, but it depends on you having a car with you. But yeah, you could travel and then drive. So I would keep that as a backup plan. Um, and it's easier to do Uber and Lyft than it is to do like Postmates and Uber Eats because you got to carry shit. But if you could do something from the house, we need to get you set up on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. I really got to go though. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. I'll see you tomorrow. Be safe.
Okay. Take care.
So if anybody else wants to dive in, feel free because if you guys are watching from Twitter or Twitch, you just got to click that link in the comment section, approve the mic, approve the camera, and it brings you on in real time. You don't always have to have your camera on the live. I just got to see that you're over the age of 18 in order to be on the live. So, you know, yeah, we're going to do that. Now, real quick, how much time do we got? Yeah, we got an hour and 20 minutes. So, uh, we're going to start talking about some of the issues that negatively impacted the Bitcoin over the past 3 months. First thing we have is the very policies that celebrated as the industry's salvation were the same policies that basically took down cryptocurrency in November. Because on the surface, the executive orders and the push for deregulation looked like a gift, and they were designed to unleash innovation. But beneath the surface, these policies did something far more dangerous, and they introduced moral hazards. Moral hazard is what happens when people take reckless risks because they believe they'll be protected from the consequences. And think of it this way: if your car insurance covers any and all damage, no questions asked, you're more likely to drive a little faster, a little more recklessly, and potentially run people over because you know that your insurance will cover it. I mean, why not? If you crash, someone else pays the bill. Trump's entire crypto agenda was a massive market wide moral hazard insurance policy by signaling that the government would support the industry no matter what, and by appointing regulators whose mission was to get out of the way. The administration sent a clear message: go ahead, take bigger risks, leverage up, don't worry about any downside because we've got your back. This wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate strategy. The administration's ethos prioritized growth and market highs above all else. And they wanted big headline grabbing numbers. And the fastest way to get them in crypto is through leverage. Light touch regulations wasn't about fostering sustainable growth. It was about removing the brakes from a speeding car to see how fast it could go. The strengthening America's leadership order was dangerously vague. And it was dangerously vague on risk management. It focused on innovation, but lacked the crucial guardrails that prevent markets from overheating. It was like building a beautiful skyscraper, but forgetting to include fire escapes. The structure was designed for a perfect day with no thought for what might happen in a storm. Now, this created a deep systemic vulnerability invisible to the average investor. While everyone celebrated new all time highs, the market foundation was eroding. Traders and institutions, normally cautious, were now incentivized to take on massive debt and make highly speculative bets. They believed the crypto president would never let the market sustain a serious crash. Now, this belief, government-sponsored illusion of safety, was the first and most crucial step in making the collapse so devastating. Now, this idea of engineered recklessness isn't just speculation. We can see it and all of its effects written on the blockchain. The next one, the blockchain evidence that proves that the market was being systematically primed for a fall. Following the wave of pro-crypto policies in early 2025, we saw a dramatic, terrifying shift in market behavior. Leverage, borrowing money to amplify bets, exploded across the system, which makes this a double negative because there were people who will already put everything they had into the crypto market. Then they took loans against that capital to buy more crypto, doubling down on perceived success. This came to a head all at one time in October. A geopolitical shock reportedly tied to Trump's renewed tariff threats against China ripped through the markets in a brutal 24-hour period. The crypto ecosystem witnessed a liquidation cascade of approximately $19 billion, where over 1.6 million traders had their positions forcibly closed. Because you understand that when you take a line of credit against your stock option, and after you take that line of credit against your stock option, if your stock option reduces itself too much, the lender of the line of credit will sell off your position to cover the debt. This was not a normal market event. It was a structural failure. A healthy market absorbs shocks, but the market of October of 2025 was dangerously over-leveraged, a direct consequence of the moral hazard the administration's policy had created. The massive liquidation wasn't just the loss of money, it was the sound of the foundation cracking. So what happened after the event that occurred in October? Well, normally participants would de-risk, but that's not what happened. Instead, emboldened by the continuing pro-crypto narrative from the White House, the market doubled down on the dip. Buy the dip mentality, now supercharged with the belief of a presidential backstop, took over. Any dip was seen not as a warning, but as a gift. Shit. Let your motherfucking fuel light come on your car. That is not a gift. That is treacherous. Let your check engine light kick off for the first time on your car. That is not a gift. That is disaster. So when $19 million walked away, that don't mean that you buy back in. If Chick-fil-A maxed out your credit card, that don't mean you whip out another credit card. This event had a devastating, unforeseen consequence. It created a liquidity crisis because the market makers, the large firms that provide trading liquidity, those individuals that would buy and hold crypto, not just trade it all the time with their microbots, were severely wounded in the October crash. They saw the extreme fragility and pulled back. They took their money back because the 4% they get for holding their money towards a position was not worth it, right? And this meant that even normal size sell orders could cause disproportionately large price drops because there just weren't enough buyers to absorb the selling pressure. The market was now powdered, and it was ready to blow like a keg in a fraternity home, primed for the most massive fall we've seen in history. Now, this brings us to the next issue we had, the most brilliant piece of the puzzle. That strategic Bitcoin reserve announced in March 2025. It was presented as the ultimate bullish catalyst. And what could be more positive for Bitcoin's price than the United States government holding it as a reserved asset? I told y'all on Saturday, the United States government was not holding all of the stock of Bitcoin. They was just holding the money they stole from other folks who was holding Bitcoin. That is not the same. If the feds hold all the trucks and cars and SUVs, them 150 vehicles that they seized out of that Walmart parking lot from that Need for Speed car meetup, that don't mean that law enforcement hold control over the whole dealership in that state. What it means is that what they took is what they're holding. And if it just so happens to be a Hellcat, if they just so happen to have seized 2,000 Hellcats, that means that they have a bunch of Hellcats in their control that they can repurpose. But that does not mean that they own all the Hellcats. Likewise, just because the United States government is holding on to assets seized from individuals, and let's be real, a lot of the people that they're seizing money from is from tax fraud, tax evasion, or criminal activity, or acts of terrorism. But be that as it may, there are quite a few people who got where they just stole somebody's money and never got it back. And who's going to fight against the feds? Because, I mean, they took your shit. They stole your algorithm. It's gone, right? Now, the money that they took from other people is all they holding. That's all they backing their money by. That is not the largest majority of Bitcoin. It's a percentage of it, but it's not the largest majority of it. So when you thought that the U.S. government was backing Bitcoin, they weren't backing Bitcoin. They were going to use Bitcoin too, as probably one of the largest investors in Bitcoin next to the creator, but not large enough to dramatically impact stability on Bitcoin. I don't know what the hell y'all was thinking when y'all put that together, but that was not a surefire thing. Now, the market predictability went into a frenzy because the price of Bitcoin already climbed entirely too high, and they entered a new phase of euphoric ascent. People were just loving how rich they felt. If you had one $50,000 coin and that coin is now $120,000, you felt like the biggest dog on the block. God forbid you had 10 coins. You were you were doing it. And it was announced that actually, hold on, before that, the danger was something that was coming because that existence of the reserve that did not exist. That was the announcement. By publicly declaring its intention to become the world's biggest holder, the US government created massive one-sided trades that any sophisticated participant could see from a mile away just by doing that. And that made people think even higher of their position if they were holding Bitcoin, watching it climb the way people who bought gold back in the 70s is watching it climb in 2025. So think about it. If you knew the world's largest economy was about to start buying a specific asset in massive quantities, what would you do? The average person would buy as much as you could afford right now to front run the trade. And because the administration had already created an environment of extreme moral hazard, you wouldn't just use your own capital. You would leverage yourself to maximize it. So you'd borrow against the stone and put that up and let somebody else pay on that. And this would be believing that there would be a coming wave of the government buyings that would push the price into the stratosphere. Now, the idiocracy of this is that the United States government takes more time to take action on anything than most countries all around the world, which is why we're in the bottom hundreds of every definition of a great country. We're a great country by personal declaration, but by statistics, we're like 135, 120. The fastest thing the United States has ever done is forced deportation. COVID came out in October. We found out about it in March. Stimulus checks came out 9 months after COVID shut down. We were shut down for almost a year before the money started coming. The stimulus checks started coming out. They started putting out executive orders after the stimulus check came out to keep people from getting evicted, which was like 18 months after. Do you understand how the government takes so much time to get something done? Why the hell you thought that in 2025 the U.S. government was going to buy into anything? If you was going to do some stupid shit like this, you should have backstopped it by buying in October when it dipped. Buy into it right after the dip, and then wait for the U.S. government to go in on it, because they're not going to be able to go in on it no sooner than Q1 of 26, because he just ordered it in Q1 of 25 to build the sovereign wealth fund, set everything up, and actually he gave them a requirement that I do believe by September they were supposed to have a plan of action, not actually execute the action. So they're supposed to be discussing this right now, right after the shutdown, so that come next year, they might start going into it, which is the same year that the Trump fund is supposed to start. Y'all ain't think about that shit, huh? Now, buying into a surefire thing that wasn't backed by any type of information that the government was actually going to take action on it now, because they will do it, just not when you think they're going to do it. But by buying into it without having a guarantee that they were about to do it, that is exactly what people were doing. And the announcement of the strategic Bitcoin reserve acted as a powerful accelerant on an already over leveraged market. And it transformed speculation into a near certainty in the minds of millions of investors. It's crazy the way it worked out, because just like I told Dylan, when $50,000 worth of investors, $50,000 per coin worth of investors invested on Bitcoin, and it jumped from 50,000 to 100,000, that was the motivation for other individuals to throw down another $20,000 a coin onto the platform. But it's bandwagon people that's jumping onto the back end of $100,000 instead of waiting for it to go back down to 80. The narrative became unshakable. The government is going to buy so the price can go up. That is the only expectation people believe. This created the final layer of frailty, because the price was no longer driven by the fundamentals or the technology that actually makes these trades successful. It was driven by the collective belief in a future event that was not guaranteed, the government's purchases. Now, had they started making those purchases by June or July, Bitcoin would be probably at $250,000 or more right now. The shutdown happened, so nobody was getting paid. But you gotta think, any delay or external shock that caused people to question that belief wouldn't just cause a correction, it would trigger a catastrophic collapse of the entire leveraged platform. Now, here is the biggest issue. The market was now a perfect fragile trap waiting to be triggered. It was the gun in front of the door with the string on the trigger. When you pull the door, it's going to blast you in the face. That is where we were. And you also got to understand, a lot of folks, and just like I was telling Dylan earlier today, a lot of folks who had cash leveraged against Bitcoin, who needed money to pay their bills during the shutdown between October and November, would have sold their position to save their standard of living, giving up on the dream that they're going to have this platform, this stock position when the government buys in. And as those people sold to save their life, that is what screwed the pooch. Because by November 2025, the market was a ghost. On the surface, prices were still high, but underneath, the system was hollowed out. Liquidity was thin, and unprecedented leverage was balanced on a very, very sharp knife's edge. And now all the elements that the media would later blame for the crash came to play. But they weren't the cause. They were simply the triggers. So the first gust of wind came from the Federal Reserve, because throughout 2025, the market had been fueled by expectations of interest and rate cuts. But in November, mixed messages emerged and uncertainty grew about whether a promised December rate cut would even happen. In the fragile ecosystem Trump's policies had created, this was a spank in the butt. This was a spark in a tinderbox. This was the flame that you wasn't expecting in a fully gassed up room. Then the second trigger was pulled and fired because the spot Bitcoin ETFs just wasn't what you was expecting. These funds had been an engine of the 2025 bull run, but in November, the trend violently reversed as fear spread, leading to record-breaking outflows. As quickly as they flooded the market, as quickly as they abandoned it. This wave of selling hit the dangerously thin order books, and the price began to slide. But this wasn't a gentle slide. As prices fell, the first group of highly leveraged traders received margin calls, and their positions were forcibly sold. So when you do a call, you gotta pay. It's just what happens. And this flood of sell orders pushed the price down further, triggering the next larger wave of liquidation, because it was a vicious feedback loop known as a liquidation cascade. And while all this was happening, where was the smart money? On-chain data shows a significant wave of selling from long-term holders in the weeks leading up to the crash. They weren't panicking selling. They were systematically de-risking, getting out of the way before the inevitable collapse they knew was coming actually came. They understood that the market strength was an illusion. Instead of being greedy and trying to get every penny off the table, at the bottom, you buy as close to the bottom as you can, but you buy in. At the top, you buy as close to the top as you can, and then you sell. Fuck the rest. Leave that shit on the table, because if you ain't never seen a robbery movie. They go and do the heist, and the only reason why the heist goes to shit is because they spent too much time trying to get extra. They spent too much time in the bank heist trying to get the diamonds out the safe. They spent when they could have just cleared out the register and dipped out, and they would have been free. They spent too much time. Remember, Queen Latifah would set it off. She spent too much time trying to find the right song to have the right getaway music when she could have just left before the police got there. You understand the arrogance in trying to be greedy. That's what always got them caught up. You need heist people that be over there stealing the precious paintings and the precious jewels, that one last big score that's bigger than all the rest. Instead of them retiring off of what they already had, they put their lives in danger. Half the group died, and only like 2 or 3 people survived when they could have just stopped when they was ahead. That's what these people was doing. They stopped when they were ahead. They realized this is as good as it gets. We're at the peak. It is downhill from here, and they walked. Okay. The result was total capitalization. Bitcoin's price plummeted, falling over 21%. Now, Dylan talked about how there was a 5% increase, but it dropped 21% in a month and hitting a 7-month low of around $80,600. The very foundation that was supposed to be protected by the crypto president had crumbled in the dust, wiping out over $1 trillion in value and leaving millions of his most ardent supporters in financial ruin. So now we see the full picture. This wasn't a random market accident. This was yet again another perfect storm. The crash of the November 2025 crypto scenario wasn't just caused by Fed uncertainty or ETF outflows. The real cause was the deliberate creation of a market fragility orchestrated under the guise of pro-crypto policies. And let's state the central thesis plainly. The instability that led to the crash wasn't a bug. It was a feature of the administration's recklessness. Growth at all cost approach is what caused this. Their policies were never designed to create a stable, healthy market. Because who profits off of a stable market? Nobody. We profit off of volatility. Somebody bought in, built up a bandit, let it blow up, but they got out first. And then when it blew up, now that it's down, they're going to buy back in the way they bought up Louisiana after Katrina. After catastrophic failure, best time to buy in. Their policies were never designed to create that stable health market. You understand? They were engineered to maximize possible levels of risk, leverage, and speculation. See how high this is going to go. Okay. And think about it now, guys. Even Trump coin did not survive the crash. It still exists, but it took a massive hit. Dogecoin is the only one that is stable right now. Elon Musk's Dogecoin is the only one that's stable right now. So first, the administration created the moral hazard, signaling to the market that it was a one-way bet success. The exhausted rational fear and incentivized levels of greed and leverage the market had never seen in life. Really, we have never seen this. And everybody just gave up on any rational thinking because they're like, government's got it. I'm going to ask you a financial question right now. When, for the 75% of Americans that don't make over $100,000 a year, has the government ever saved your ass when you didn't have enough money to pay your rent? When has the government ever saved your ass when you couldn't afford to pay your car note? And I know first thing people gonna say, COVID. Now, before COVID, when has the government ever saved your ass? Pre-COVID, because COVID was the only time that they stopped you from losing it all. Outside of natural disaster, in day-to-day business and finance, when has the government ever stepped in and saved your ass? So why do you believe that a multi-billion-dollar investment opportunity, the government gonna save your ass? That was a stupid bet to make. They ignored all the warning signs. The massive liquidation and that event happened in October was a clear signal that the system was dangerously unstable. When people started liquidating in October, y'all should have got out. Y'all should have got out in September when you heard that the shutdown was about to happen. Y'all should have been walking out in like late August, early September. A responsible administration would have called for caution, but instead they continued to cheerlead, allowing the underlying liquidity crisis to fester. And I mean, they were there. Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they were at all the crypto conferences that happened at the beginning of the year. They were like pro crypto, right? But XRP and everything else, all of it suffered this past couple months. So when Pro Logic was coming up in here, or Bro Logic was coming up in here talking about, oh, sell all your stocks and go to crypto. Why? Why buy in while everybody's getting out? So that you can guaranteedly be in the negative within 48 hours. Why? Why? Not even, it won't take 48 hours. You'd probably be in a negative within 2 hours. You know? Just like when he gave you that bad advice about going and buying gold because gold will hit 25,000. Gold's not going to hit $25,000 for another 15 years. Gold might get to 6,000 by this time next year, 5,000 by February or March. But that's as high as it's getting for right now. If it goes up $800, we're lucky. Okay. Then you got to understand they lit the fuse when the announcement came out of that strategic Bitcoin reserve, and they had to know that this would trigger a massive wave of front running and leverage speculations, because people who think they know it all about everything, I don't know everything about everything. I know a little something about a lot of stuff, and I know enough to get me through. I don't know everything about everything. I have to research it, but I'm smart enough to know that I don't know it all. And I'm confident enough to admit when that is beyond my knowledge. But a lot of people believe that they know everything about everything. I can predict based off of the information that I've received. And based on my predictions are never wrong. But it is still a prediction. So while I can't chisel my recommendations into stone and then post them in front of the show, I can definitely tell you that this is the direction that it should go. And so far, I haven't been wrong. But these individuals were pouring weight onto a structure that everyone knew was already cracking, because nobody cared, because we'll be saved if we fuck it up. But if we don't fuck it up, we'll be rich. That's like saying, let's go to Sodom and Gomorrah, because as long as one of us is as long as one of us don't commit sin, we'll all be saved. Kenny, you're going to be the designated savior. But they killed Kenny, right? There went Sodom and Gomorrah. You got to understand, you can't put your bet on being one of the ones that survive. You have to self-preserve, and that's not what they were doing here. It was the final move that made a catastrophic collapse not just possible, but inevitable. It was equivalent to driving your lowrider into floodwater, thinking that your vehicle was not going to stall out. The administration had built a fragile house of cards, and they stood by as the slightest breeze knocked it down. But they didn't just sit there and wait for the breeze. They allowed it to get incredibly high and then turned on a freaking box fan right in front of it and just, yeah. I'm trying to tell you, some people got what they got. And this is going to bring us to the final chilling question. Why? Why would the crypto president, the man who wrapped himself in the flag of Bitcoin, oversee the very crash that he was supposed to prevent? Look, to find the answer, we have to ask the oldest question in any investigation. Cubano, who benefits? This section is admittedly speculation. We can't know for certain what motives were there, but we can look at outcomes and explore theories that have emerged in the crash's aftermath. Was this a 4D chess move? Was the crash a calculated maneuver to shake out weak hands and create the buying opportunity of a lifetime for powerful, well-connected institutional players? But consider this. The crash pushed Bitcoin's price down to a 7th-month low. For large institutions and sovereign funds who wanted to accumulate a much larger position before the strategic reserve actually began, isn't purchases, the crash would be a godsend for the seller. Think about it. I'm going to say it again for you guys. The big business individuals, they wanted to get the best position possible right before the government bought in, because the government said they were going to buy in. They're going to buy in eventually. But y'all already know that as soon as Trump got into office, the shit got too damn expensive. In November, 24 hours into his president-elect position, Bitcoin went through the roof. Okay? And it kept climbing right before the government starts buying in. Don't you think it makes most sense to make that shit go back down some? So this crash was a godsend, where I said from day one, I can't tell you that the man is racist, but he makes business deals for big business. And we are not big business because we don't have big business mindsets. We don't hold ourselves with the mentality of millionaires. We hold ourselves with fiscally responsible. We hold ourselves with penny to post. We hold ourselves to not letting the bottom fall out of the barrel, but we don't hold ourselves to billionaire mindsets. And because we don't hold ourselves to billionaire mindsets, we don't hold ourselves to the possibility of making that financial stability. Now, this crash allowed big businesses to acquire Bitcoin at a massive discount in comparison to where it was in January of this year from the panicked hands of retail investors. And the very institutions courted by the administration were primary beneficiaries of the collapse. The exact people that he put those executive orders in place for will benefit from the Bitcoin collapse. Or perhaps the motive was even more cynical, because was this a way to demonstrate the supposed dangers of a decentralized market to justify more centralized controlled layers? Because by allowing the market to immolate itself in a fire of its own leverage, it creates a powerful pretext for future regulation. A government could argue, we tried the light touch approach and you see what happened. Now we must step in with a firmer hand, because you know the government controls everything. They legalize weed because they can tax it. But anything that they can't track is still illegal. Because think about the funny part about legalized marijuana still has Schedule 1 charges for possession of a controlled substance, public intoxication, driving under the influence of a narcotic. That you're not going to get drug trafficking, but you're still going to catch a charge for having non-government supported marijuana. Isn't that ridiculous? If they're not getting paid off of it, they're going to get paid off of it. It's the easy way or the hard way. You either volunteer it up or they take it from you. This could pave the way for more restrictive government-friendly frameworks like central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. So what do you guys think? Was this a master plan to benefit institutionalized allies that got together and set up the best deal that they could benefit from? Or a setup to justify future control? Or simply a case of catastrophic incompetence for the large majority of the millions and millions of insane investors thinking that a government that has never backed its people will back its people with this particular financial decision? And I'm not saying that the government doesn't back us up, because we don't get blown up on a regular basis. We have not had a non-American started war in America since the Civil War. You understand? So we get backed, but when we start talking about backed in a financial investment, the government doesn't back people's financial investments. So anybody who had the lack of knowledge to believe that the US government would back a financial investment where you're going to put your money up on a volatile stock, and if you flop, the government will cover you, you lost your mind. You lost your mind. That's not how stock trading works. In order for one person to hit it big, either one or multiple people have to fall. And the person who hit it big is the encouragement to invest. And the person who lost it all is the encouragement to be careful about it. Make sure that you guys let me know your theory in the comment section. And regardless of the precise motive, the conclusion is still going to be the same. The official story of the November 2025 crypto crash is a lie. It was not a random act of market volatility. That is not the case. And I've been proving to you guys, I've been debunking theories every show, just about most of the shows at least. When I find out about a theory, I debunk these theories. It was a predictable climax of a story that began the moment Donald Trump was declared the crypto president. His policies, celebrated as a blessing, were in fact the curse that negatively impacted the overzealous and greedy investor. They systematically injected instability, fragility, and recklessness into the heart of the market, setting the stage for one of the most brutal devaluations that has ever occurred in crypto history. And this was a massive deleveraging. Like the outsource, they bailed out. So where do you go from here when you lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars? Where do you go from here? You went from Kardashian's rich to MC Hammer broke. Where do you go from here? What does this mean for you, the investor trying to navigate these treacherous waters? Because for me, I would say that if you're not an expert investor, you might want to hold off on getting into Bitcoin until you kind of get a better understanding of it. And I would also say that when you invest in Bitcoin, you do it with the dividends from a more secured investment opportunity. That way you can take the profits from your positive investments and invest that towards a highly volatile investment. I would expect you to have a portfolio that would have between 5 and 10% Bitcoin out of your total portfolio. And out of your total portfolio, you would probably have, maybe 5 or 10% precious metals and precious minerals, and then 80% stock market, or maybe another 5 or 10% of bonds in addition to 80% stock or 70% stock market. But the majority of your dividend paying stocks would be the majority of your portfolio. And then you would take the dividends and go and buy other assets so that you can be more diversified. But you got to remember, you would have been safer putting a few $100,000 towards leveraging the settlement of a legal action than what you would have been putting up a few $100,000 towards Bitcoin, because while you could have made quick money off that Bitcoin trade, you would have made consistent money off of leveraging legal fees. You could actually start up a business on that, where you put up 20% of the potential settlement opportunity and get your money. You guys got to understand. This means that you must understand the game can be influenced by powerful forces, just like dark money influences politics. You are not just trading against the market forces. You are trading in an environment shaped by political actors who view the market as a tool. The shutdown was a tool for political arguments. The average everyday American was negatively impacted by that because their paycheck stopped coming in. But people are being leveraged as tools, as statistics, in a bigger picture argument. The second thing we have to recognize is that this chaos, as painful as it is, creates opportunity. The crash wiped out the tourists and the gamblers. So for those who understand the real game being played, this is a time to be clear-headed, not overzealous. While others are panicking, smart money may be accumulated, because analysts still project that Bitcoin could reach an incredible new high. The long-term thesis for crypto has not changed. The $250,000 expectation is supposed to happen by June or July of 2026. But that's by June or July of 2026. If you haven't sold your crypto position yet and it hasn't been forced to sell, hold your position. Don't do calls and puts. Hold your position. What changed from this is our understanding of the path to how to get to being successful. It will not be a straight line. We have to remember that. It will be a battlefield of volatility and politically influenced boom and bust cycles. Surviving and thriving in this environment requires a new level of awareness. It requires looking past the surface level news and understanding the deep narrative at play. It means recognizing that policies that seem pro-crypto on the surface can have dangerous hidden consequences. And this is the hidden game behind the scenes that's being played. And this is the analyst that you will not find anywhere else. Because if I want to stay ahead of the next move, I've got to go find that information. And if you want to stay ahead of the next move with me, you are going to want to see the market for what it is, for what it truly is. And you want to protect yourself from that next engineer crash. You need to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't done so already. Hit that like button. You guys need to wham on that reaction button, and make sure that you hit the notification button to be notified, because tomorrow is yet another day where we're going to be giving you guys even more information about where to invest, how to invest, where to make extra cash. I was just talking to Dylan about helping him find other ways to go digital so that he doesn't have to ride around in his car all day trying to make money. There is ways that we can do what we need to do. Because just like I told him, I made more money sitting in this chair than what he made driving all day. If you guys want to know another way, we're here 7 nights a week. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we talk about your personal finance, how to build that up, how to build up business, how to get yourself financially stable. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we talk about ways to build up your personal life so that we can get you to stop making financial decisions that negatively impact your financial life. They intertwine with one another. And then Sunday, every random comment that could come out, every random question that could come out happens on Sunday. The next chapter of this story is already being written. And what's coming is something that you absolutely cannot afford to miss. So you have to prioritize taking time out of your day. Because we are here for between 2 and 3 hours a night, every night of the week. And we don't let the sun rise without going live. And you guys have to make it a point to start showing up and showing out so that we can start making money, make money for ourselves, so that we can start getting paid for our existence instead of getting paid for our presence, where we have to show up to get money. We need to be getting money in our sleep. We need to get money while we drinking martinis on a yacht. We need to be making money while we're hanging out with our squad. We need to be with a squad that's making money with us so that we can start finding other ways to make more money for ourselves. If you're watching a show right now and you're trying to make ends meet, you need to start coming to the show more often so that we can start talking about more ways for you to make more money, make money from you. And this isn't the type of seminar thing that's going to feed you into join my program and I'm going to tell you after you join my program. Nah, fuck this shit. Come here every day. And then if y'all like what y'all see and y'all decide that y'all want to throw something at the channel, y'all got plenty of opportunities to contribute something to the channel, either by special emojis, special things, special likes, or just dropping 10, 15, 20 bucks onto, knowing YouTube taking half of it, onto the channel, show your appreciation for the fact that I gave you financial opportunities that helped you become more successful. The fact that you benefited from me before you paid me makes way more sense than paying some knowledge guru before you even find out what they're offering. You've ever been in one of those? You ever been in one of those? You sit there for an hour and a half. They're telling you all these stories, but they never tell you how to get to where you're trying to go. And then they try to convince you to buy this book, buy this video, join up to their retreat, and then you're gonna go to the retreat. You paid all this stuff. You go to the retreat. You spend 4 days not telling you how to get to your goal, and then they tell you to buy their website. That's not where we're at. I'm going to make sure that I make it a point to tell you what you need to know, how to get from where you want to be to where you need to be, or how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And then it is your responsibility to follow up and do the research so that you can figure out how that information applies to you. I'm going to give you a heads up. Change is imminent. And this isn't that Obama change. You can go from being rich to poor in the next 4 years. You can go from being poor to not poor. You can go from being poor to rich. I've already given you guys multiple platform informationals throughout the last year that showed you how two people can come together and be a millionaire inside of 10 years. So if you spend the next 4 years getting your money right, 6 years after this guy gets out of office, you'll have over $1 million in your relationship. And this was calculated based off of 2 individuals that's making around $40,000 to $50,000 a year per person, not wasting their money, living a lifestyle that is not more than 60% of their total standard of living, their total income, and the other 40% of their combined income being invested into the 20% stocks that usually, more often than not, scrolling across the bottom of the screen. You know I had to make it scroll across the bottom of the screen as soon as I said that, right? So that you can make that 20% return on your investment and utilize that to make yourselves millionaires over the long term. The goal is for you to find the things in your life that you know that you can improve, the things that you don't like, the things that you know that need to be changed. So you need to put forth effort to make those changes. Then, as you improve, the things that you can't control, the things that you don't have enough time for, you navigate around that. But you should not, going into 2026, still have things in your life that you don't like, that you wish would change, that you wish would better, and you're not putting any effort into changing it. Because that's another level of moral failure. You are literally allowing yourself to fail. Nobody on this earth can control where they were born and what financial lifestyle that they were born into. But every 30-year-old adult can honestly look themselves in the mirror and say that I am the reason why I live the way I live right now today. And if you're not satisfied with the way that is, you need to be trying to find better ways to make money for you. Because whether you hate your job and you need another income so that you can quit that job, whether you hate the interactions that you have and you need a better income or a new neighborhood that costs more money so that you can get away from the conflict, or if you have injuries, back pain, and old age where you don't want to get up every day and go nowhere, you want to be able to get paid for staying home, you have motivations to try to find your 20-year plan to get out of this bullshit. And I don't care how old you are, if you start this year, you only got 19 years left. And if you're older and you're investing quicker, you might be able to knock it out in 10. But if you're not trying to hit that millionaire status, if you're trying to hit that half millionaire status where you can take, $40,000-$50,000 a year and go live in Asia somewhere for 50% of that value, you can still 5 to 7 years put your $250,000 up there and then take the rest of your money and live off of it and not have to try anymore. And that's the biggest dynamic. Put yourself in a position where you do not have to try anymore. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to tonight's show. Ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Y'all remember to make sure that y'all like and subscribe and come back and see me tomorrow, because we're going to be talking about different countries around the world that we can invest in, what we're going to be investing in, and places where you can afford to live a whole lot cheaper than currently where you are, depending on what country you're in. So thank you again for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. Just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.